I'm glad you're here today because maybe you can shed light on how this is even possible. A California woman who is currently serving life in prison cooperated with another prison employee, and together they pulled a fraud scheme that scammed $2 million in unemployment benefits.
Wow. I don't know if I should say good for them or should I say
unemployment from the prison?
That's kind of cool.
Well, what they did was they used the names of other prisoners and other people everywhere.
I've heard people doing that.
And just collected tons of unemployment.
Oh.
Interesting.
It's kind of like how they get the dead people.
Yeah.
And then they sign them up.
So
dead people.
The guard or the other employee for the prison was taking the records of the files and giving that to the prisoner, and together they were pulling that whole thing.
Wow.
There were some dudes doing that when I was at Herlong. There was a guy there doing income tax returns for dudes, and basically he was in there balling. Him and another guy were getting guys informations and having the people on the street, and then filing income tax and getting money, and then he would get a cut by showing the people's families, and so they were getting money sent on their books, and they were balling. They made six figures.
People file for their taxes in jail?
Well, but he knew how to do it. This dude, he was a Colombian, he was balling. He knew and he had another white guy who was pretty smart, and together they were putting together like these frauds where they were somehow doing returns or something else to get money back, and in exchange these people would have to give them a cut, and so they had a little network and they were doing it. Somehow the prison found out and they got busted, but they were in there running the cold racket similar to that. So you got some smart dudes in there who know how to go about like getting money and making shit like that happen.
So this stuff is pretty common.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form.
Any way, shape, or form. If a guy knows how to facilitate paperwork, the fraud game is, it's one of the easiest games, but it's a paper trail. So eventually it's gonna catch up to you.
I'm still waiting to meet that Nigerian prince I sent money to. But
He is too.
I know.
Never give up.
But COVID,
Yeah, COVID. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It's pretty, out of all the crimes you can do from prison, fraud is like one of the easier, more common ones you can pull off.
Yeah, because if you have access or somebody who knows how to do certain things, and then you can utilize, like say somebody's sitting in there and they apply for an Amex, and they got some on the street to get them thing, somehow sign, you know what I mean? You can work certain things. They'll never see that person. Yeah. So how do they know? So if a person's smart enough and they can somehow build profiles up, they can create these profiles. They got somebody, and like you said, a guard who's facilitating other stuff, goes to a P.O. box, they get it, they blah, 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 charge, make moves. You can make moves. And because people are just sitting dormant, so how is it ever going to collect? Because it never really hits nowhere, and if a person keeps that floating, they can have a whole racket up in there. It's just how much time do you want to put into orchestrating that type of racket, knowing that it could possibly collapse. Yeah. Which it eventually does, because somebody's going to tell or they're going to get word of it. But yeah, there's a lot of guys I would imagine that have done that haven't got caught if they stopped in time. But
they just get too greedy.
Or you carry on the hustle like that for too long, and the paper trail, somehow it only takes one mistake and it leads back to whoever set up that initial scheme. Because these guys, I think when they were doing attack, they had been doing it for some years. So is doing 20, 30 years, he's like, what I got to lose?
Is it pretty common that a lot of like people who are still doing crime in jail, like how do they keep getting these like guards to work with them?
Yeah. Well, you got to look at a guard. It's fascinating with the fact that this guy was able to make this kind of money, and a guard at the same time, you're dealing with a guy who in prison who is very articulate or well versed in like, let's just say economics. You got a guy maybe who was running maybe a real estate company or had an LLC that knew how to build credit line through Dunn and Brad, so he knew how to build all that. And you tell a guard, and the guard sitting there and be like, damn, I wouldn't mind being a millionaire, or how to, get this or that going and make a little extra money, buy a nice car, make an extra 10, 20 grand a month. And if it's not requiring you hurt nobody, they think that, hey, why not? Why not go ahead and do this? And if they can trust a person, if a guy's a solid dude, then they feel like, hey, it's worth the risk. It's like with anything else. If a person who's never done crime and they get intrigued by somebody who's made a success to a degree through crime, even though they're locked up, they would want to know, like, how do you go about doing that? How can I?
Do you know how much guards make? Because like, if they're making like 50 grand a year or something, and this guy's like, yo, how would you like to make 10 grand a month? Yeah. They're probably going to be.
I do know it varies state to state.
Yeah.
Like some states, like guards could be 18. Some states, they're like post-certified, so they're like actual cops. So it all depends.
It's not too much in California for COs. The average is 42,000 a year.
And so they got to get overtime. And like, say if you're a guard in certain prisons, like in Fed, when they outlawed cigarettes, like dudes are bringing in like what did the can of beer cost? $16. You know that in prison that's $300.
So if they sell cigarettes to the prisoners, do they get in trouble? Probably a little bit, right? But not.
It's not dope.
Yeah.
So how does money transfer in prison? Like, does prisoners just have
dude,
cash?
You have people send money to the streets on your books. You know, and I used to do legal work for people. I never had money sent in. I'd have them, you know, hey, make sure when they send it to this person. Did it hit? Okay, cool. Okay, I'll
So it's not like actual
no,
money.
you know, you don't even have to ever see it. It's just a matter of making sure. It's just like when guys, there's poker tables in prison
Prison block.
that are making like, there's poker tables that are doing probably some of them $50,000 a month. The buy-in's $5,000
In prison.
in prison. My boy's running a poker table. The buy-in's $5,000. You got maybe 6 people playing. So each person, until they can't get into the poker game until this $5,000 hits, and you could play up to that $5,000. Now, when you get below, I'll let you know when you're down to your last $500. But then if you win, I'll also, once you get to a certain point, I'll do payouts. So I'll do a payout, do accounting. You got to do like you're watching. I'm doing this. You're keeping track. You got books, all this stuff, and then a guard lets you know, hey, this is the Asian table, this is the so-and-so table, and he kind of looks out, and you might, hey man, when you add this, I'll shoot you something. All right, you shoot him a couple grand. You know what I mean? Because you let him run your table, and it keeps people from violence because you're gambling. So you got guys, that's all they do. They'll leave the cards. And they'll go and shit and lock down and come back. The cards will be right there. They'll finish the game. Like serious, like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ultimate
man.
dealers, huh?
So people
It's like, it's like these are ball. It's a ball. Like it might be Colombian dude, ball that's like dude from Vietnamese dude. This dude right here, he's he's a dope dealer from the Bay. This dude, and they're all playing, dude. And it's like the table might be like $10,000 on the table. You know what I mean? They're playing serious.
like actual money on the table, or they just keep the books. So they
keep
know.
the books, and they keep the books and know. But like you know, because everybody's solid. And the thing is, you don't want to go in a debt and think you're going to hide, because you go to the hole, you go to another prison. I'll send word that you over here, because the gambler's never going to stop gambling.
Yeah.
He'll go to another prison, go get on another table, and it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So it'll happen. And so before you can even get on a table, you cannot play until the money hits the streets.
Wow.
So you can't, okay, now you.
So there's a banker or someone, or who collects?
Somebody on the streets like, oh, you call. Oh yeah, Blue, he's good. Oh, hey, okay, the little pit, he's getting big, huh? Oh, so you know what's up. So it's good. So that dude, you could come play. You're good. So now you can, and then you keep track of what you're winning, and so you know what you're.
So they get wire instructions. Like they're like everyone has someone that outside that's their banker.
Yeah, you got to have like a person that handle your, maybe you have your cousin, your aunt, your girl,
and they send money. Yeah.
Handle business. You got to make sure, like, hey man, you don't ever want to get in the hole. And most people tell you, like, you don't want to, you don't let somebody get in the hole to begin with. So that's why you tell them that before they can play. And then, once you get to that level, then, a lot of people like, or they'll say, hey man, I'm good. And they'll go to like, there's a machine, look at my books. Oh, dang, you got 100,000 on your books. Okay, yeah. Because I know your books say, the account thing says that your machine says you have that much money on your books.
What's when people say the books? That's their jail bank, right?
Yes.
That's the jail Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
Other people can see it when they show up your account. They can.
Well, if I have you come with me, there's ways I can, like, hey, look, what I'm saying? So you're like, oh, okay. But like typically before anybody gives you any credit, you got to have proof of funds. You're not going to show up. And the thing is, you don't want to go in there and think that you're going to scam these dudes because do this. They got hitters there. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't want to deal with that.
You don't want to get gunned down by them.
No, and then if, like, depending on like the level of the table, you might have before you do anything, you might have to be able to give information in case you know what I mean? So you don't want that to happen.
How do you regulate when you're getting screwed and you don't have a crew, you don't have anybody?
You can't get involved in that. You don't even mess with it. That's what I'm saying. Before you even tap into that.
But I like poker.
If you before you even tap into that world, you better already have some type of way of dealing with paying somebody and somebody on the street that can facilitate if you have to move funds around. So you better be sitting on some hundreds of thousands or millions on the streets where you can make moves and you don't mind losing 20,000-30,000 a month.
Is there a table that's like this is like for the peewees. This is the practice table.
Oh yeah. They got guys like that stand for like $100, couple $100. It's small tables. Those tables though, dudes get beat up a lot more because they'll try shit. The poor tables. They trying shit. Dudes like go to the hole. I'm gonna check in. He owes like $300. Go to the hole. Somebody else goes to the hole and they basically follow you to the hole. But typically the hole is like segregation, like seg unit, where you go and you're like locked down and you just come out for showers and stuff. You think that you're not gonna work, you're not gonna be on main line, so you're off of main line. But there's people in main line. They got ways to send messages, to get to like, oh, he's in the hole because he checked in or he owes and blah 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 blah. And then eventually, if they transfer you to another prison, I can send word through another way. Oh, he's at so-and-so institution, and I'll say, hey man, go ahead and take over that debt for me. He owes me this. You can have that though. Just send me back whatever off of that. So it always follows.
Oh, so they try to hide from debt by getting incarcerated away from everybody else.
Yeah, people have been killed for $20 joint in there. Dudes don't have no value because it's principle. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you don't ever want to ruin the principle. It's different on the street. Like, oh man, it's only a cigarette or whatever, man. It's principle in there, man. And people take that.
They're more honorable in there. Huh?
Yeah, it's very. That's why it's like you never gonna. People aren't gonna just bump into you, step on your shoes, say excuse. It's a different level of respect. So people on the street, there's no respect because there's no consequence. And there you bump into somebody, dude. It's like literally.
He'll kill you.
Yeah, he might catch you the next day in the morning, and then you just be eating your little cereals, and dude come in and start just jabbing you because you disrespected him 2 weeks ago.
He just plotted.
Yeah, they plotted.
They said chivalry's dead.
Not in jail.